Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and this is with me is Toulouse Sarah Johnson, and this is book 5 of God's Last Days Message to His Children, and we've published the first 3 books, and they're available on Amazon. God's Last Days Message to His Children, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. This is question 9 in book 5, and I hope you enjoy it. Tulu will ask the question, God will speak through me, and then Tulu will give commentary, and then perhaps ask a couple of follow-up questions that she thinks of. God will answer those questions. Tulu will give commentary, and then it'll finish. And I pray that you're blessed by this, and I hope that some of you can listen to the whole thing. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you, Matthew, and welcome, Father. So the question for today is the number 9 question, which says, what is the nature of time from your perspective? Can past, present, and future coexist?
This is a very interesting question. In heaven, uh, there's projectors and film, there are projectors, not just video, and they project an image on a medium screen or a large screen, depending on who is watching the projection. But we project Matthew's past on a big screen, and everyone who's involved in praying for him can see a film of his past. You actually see Matthew in the present at the same time, and then we project an image and his life in the future. And so in the one place, his past, present, and future exist. And you may say that's just film, and but how did we get the future one? The future one isn't based on what he'd done and pictures of his life and his goings on in his past. His future one is created out of prophecy. It's created out of his destiny and what his purpose for. I live in the past, the present, and the future. And my reign is eternal. And some people that come to heaven are imbued with the same capabilities of seeing the past, present, and future. There's a lot of lessons in the past for people. You can always, as a human being, learn from your past. The past can be used to strategize and plan your future. You can see the mistakes that you made in the past and better prepare your life for the future. Many people are behaving in their present based on circumstances and things that have happened in their past. Many people are conditioned by their past. They've got habits and things that they do in their present based on the habits and the trauma they went through in their past. but to people on Earth, they may be reliving their past in their present, but they're not reliving their present, their future in their present. They're preparing for their future, but the future hasn't come to them. That's why sometimes receiving prophetic words, personal prophetic words of your life can be helpful, because you can get a glimpse or a vision into your future and better prepare for it in your present. So we've mentioned Matthew's parents, especially his mum, in books and videos that he's done, and his mum is part of his great cloud of witnesses. She's a friend and his mother and his mentor, and she speaks into his life, and she's seen his future. She's seen the projection of his future. She knows what's going to happen in his future, and she doesn't specifically tell him, but she meets him in her moment, in his moment. She meets him in his present, and she encourages him. If you are a parent of a young girl, Serena Williams, and you were Serena Williams' dad, you could see your child winning Wimbledon and winning world championships, and because you could see that as a vision of her future, it sort of helps plan your day and helps you put in the many hours of driving her to a tennis court and picking up the balls and going with her to tournaments, in teenage tournaments and youth tournaments. And it gives you the vision of her future, pulls you forward and gives you the motivation to walk with your daughter up until the time you see her win the world tournaments and become as popular as she is. It's the future of her daughter that he imagined in his subconscious, that gave him the energy and the courage and the patience to work with her until she achieved it. And it's similarly us, the people of heaven, are seeing Matthew's future help propel us to put in the time and put in the effort and put in the concentration to see him achieve what is destined for him. It may come as a surprise to Lou, but we've got all the books that Matthew and you are going to produce, and we've got all the books that you're going to produce yourself or with other people in heaven. They've all got their covers on them that you're going to pick and have the cover design. We've got all the covers in advance. That's why Bethany, Matthew's scribe angel, can work with the cover designer to design a cover, because the idea for the cover comes from her to him, because we've already seen the cover. We already know what the cover is. It's must be a great relief for people to understand that I understand where you're coming from. I understand what you've been through. I understand your past. I understand the conditions you're facing right now, and the things that you're going through right now, and I understand what you're capable of, and what you're going to achieve in the future. So, me standing in the middle there, in your present, but understanding your past and your future, must come as a great relief. The people of heaven who become your cloud of witnesses are the people who are indebted into your life and part of your life from saints in heaven. They also see your future and understand your future and can speak to you based on their understanding of your future. And I see your future, and Jesus sees your future. Time is a construct that happens on earth, and time in heaven is more fluid. I know Matthew was speaking to his mother, and she spoke to him one day, and she said, I really miss you in between speaking to you. Matthew said, I spoke to you yesterday. And his mother said to him, she said, but in heaven time, that was 3 weeks ago. So that's when Matthew first realized that one day on earth is like 3 weeks heaven time, but it's not static like that. It doesn't just stay like that. Sometimes one day equals one day. Sometimes one day equals 3 weeks. So you could say one day earth time is 3 weeks in heaven time as an average. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. Heaven is just a miraculous place, and I I want to say that I really enjoy being able to speak, and being able to speak clearly and plainly to the listeners and the readers. I really enjoy having the opportunity to speak. If you're a person who has been reading the books from book number 1 to this volume number 5, I want to congratulate you and say that I'm very happy with you. I'm very blessed that you're reading this and hearing this. I can't say to every one of you that your future is bright, and your future is going to be without hardship and struggles. It really does seem, the closer you become to me, and the closer you walk with me, the harder life seems to manifest problems for you. But when you experience problems and issues and trials, it makes you like us. You come to be like us. Can you imagine just for a moment all the slave trafficking in the world and sex trafficking in the world and slavery in the world and all the sexual abuse happening in the world. Can you imagine the world just for a second with all its problems and all its issues and all the unanswered prayers that exist in the world and all the people desperately crying for help and people in desperate situations. Can you imagine hearing all of that? Can you imagine having your hands tied behind your back and allowing free will to take its course in a person's life? A girl could be individually 16 years of age and have been sex trafficked as a child and been having sex with older men since she was 5 years of age, and she's 16 and her looks having a hard time, and she's been taken into brothels now, and she's working as a prostitute, and she's essentially got this really weak spirit who tries to pray to me and tries to speak to me, but she's long since lost hope of me ever rescuing her. She's been bound and stuck in a room and led out to a constant procession of men. What does her future look like? What does time look like in her life? Time would have seemed to be frozen, and she would seem to be in this continual torture that just doesn't seem to end. Time wouldn't have become fast. If you imagine it, it would have really slowed down, and the torture would be too much for her. And the clients, and Matthew knows this from experience, the clients expect her to be happy and expect her to be excited and expect to show that she's enjoying herself, but she hasn't enjoyed herself since she was a 5-year-old girl walking on her way to the shops to buy some sweets for herself and to buy mum some milk, and she hasn't had a good day since, and time has frozen, and it's just been one torturous ride ever since. And how do I cope with millions of young girls and boys like that? How do I personally cope with their prayers and their cries? Do you think time moves along normally, or do you think time is basically frozen in those victims' lives? And how do you think they treat me, think of me? Do you think they would have lost their belief that I'm a savior, that I'm a God that loves them, that I'm a God that cares for them? And how are they going to cope when they're ejected at 20 years of age and sent out into society to cope for themselves? How are they ever going to cope, and how are they going to process their life if they're ever let go? These are things that when you look at past, present, and future, they live in their present, and their present lingers on, and there's just too much tragedy happening each day for them to spend much time recollecting their past. The young 16-year-old girl can't remember anymore when she was a child. She can't remember the good times. She remembers walking down, buying some candy and buying some milk at the shop when she was abducted, but ever since then it's been a blur, and it's just been tragedy after tragedy. And I've got to sit sometimes in the present that just lingers on for years and years for some people. And you might imagine you've got a good life, and you've got struggles and trials that happen from time to time. But can you imagine, honestly, being the parent of that 16-year-old and losing your child, the child being abducted, and living for 11 years with your child missing and wondering where your child is? Um, it is probably a good thing that that you're unaware of what your child has been through, and you probably most definitely don't suffer as much. And time goes on for you, and you've got a past, a present, and a future, and time goes on, and part of time is stuck at the time your daughter disappeared. But there's no way that you suffer like your daughter is suffering, and it's only me in heaven who experiences everything and watches everything. Um, so in a sense, I live in her past when she was abducted. I live with a memory of everything that's happened to her. I live in her present when she's praying every night and asking me for help. And I live in her future when she eventually gets released and goes back to society. So you can see from her example that I can be in three places at once. And um, I understand your past, and I understand the trauma that was in your life, Matthew. And yesterday, you had a bleed on your arm last night, and you put a band-aid on it, and the band-aid wouldn't hold, and blood was seeping out everywhere. And you were thinking of going to the hospital to get your arm thing, but you just went to sleep in bed and let it bleed, and it bled on your bed. Um, that's part of your personality, which is sometimes lazy. Um, but it was an image of the wound that you carry from your youth that has you sleeping with prostitutes and going to pornography, where pornography's been solved recently, and you haven't delved into that. But it was an example of an open wound that couldn't be stopped by band-aids, and showed you an example. You've been talking about that for years until it's actually happened in your life. I was there. I was present when you were wounded, and the multiple times that the wounds happened to your life. I was there, and I'm here in your life now, in the present, and I speak to you face to face now and interact with you now. I'm also there in your future. I'm there in a few years' time when you've got a whole lot more books, and you're a lot more experienced, and you've grown a lot. So it's possible for me to be when your wife told you to leave, and she no longer wanted to be your wife. I'm there in the room. are there. I'm here in the room with you now as you speak, and I'm actually in your room as your 200th book gets published. I'm somewhere in the room in some time in the future there at the same time, and each person in the world can experience a dimension of me. They can find me at a certain time in their life, and I can be with them before they find me. I can be doing things in their life and affecting their life before they find me. I can be in their life in their present when they find me, and I can carry on and be part of their life right into their future until they die, and then they can experience meeting me in heaven. So I can exist. I hope that I've shown you that I exist in the three places at once, and you can give your commentary.
Thank you, Father, because you are the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, isn't it? And that means our past, our present, our future. And it's very difficult sometimes to imagine that you are in our past, you are in our present, you are in the future, especially when as a woman being, you can only know so much per time, you only know your present. You don't know the future, what is ahead of the future. You know the future, and because you know the future and the saints in heaven know the future, they are more relaxed when we are experiencing challenging here on earth, because we don't know what lies ahead of us. We don't know whether there's a ditch in front, and because of that, one is always consumed by so much worry. Like, for instance, what happened to Matthew regarding his house, it was full of worry, which I understand, because your mind will just be thinking so many things in that moment. But even though in heaven, they already know what the future is, that everything is going to be resolved. I was telling Matthew I think some days ago or last week, I told him that it's very interesting that a lot of the abuse or pain I experienced growing up, which is not from my parent, I need to be clear about that. They never abused me, but that God gave me the grace. I don't remember them. A lot of things that happened to me growing up, I cannot really recollect what they are, which for me, in a way, it's a pro for me, it's a benefit for me, because that means I'm not still lingering in the things of yesterday, because it's done, it's past. I know it happened, and it doesn't really have impact on me. I don't think so. And if it does, maybe I don't know. But the fact that I cannot remember them again, to me, that really gives me so much joy, gives me so much relief. And because of that, I'm able to face tomorrow. But if I could still remember what happened yesterday and I'm still lingering on yesterday, I don't know how that can impact my present. Even though, Father, I know that you are in my past, you are in my present, and you are in my future, because you are the orchestrator of our life. So you know the way you've designed our life, and you've designed it in a way that our past links to the present and links to the future. And in the end, we're able to testify to your goodness. Our life needs to be a testimony unto you. But I was watching a documentary recently about an 18-year-old dwarf. She's really small. She's 8. She was turning 18, but she's still, the height was still around the height of a 3-year-old or 4-year-old child. So when she goes out, she still goes to the children's stuff, because there's no way she can get clothes for her size. But I was really moved to tears when she said all her life has just been pain. Not pain because she's short, because she's accepted that, but she experienced excruciating pain on her waist, on her hips every day. And she's always on morphine, paracetamol, so many painkiller drugs she needs to use every day. For her, there's no difference between the past, the present, and the future, because all she's known since she has been born, she's always been in pain. And there's nothing the parent can do. The hospital, they've operated on one of the legs. She said the pain is reduced in that leg. The other one, they tried to do the same operation, it didn't work. And I was just moved to tears, like an 18-year-old child that's all she has known all her life is she just says, my life is pain. She wakes up, is pain. She sleeps, is pain. And I'm thinking that must be so terrible for him. And Father, watching that girl as well, maybe you feel her pain as well. And our parents are just trying to look for solutions that what other medication can they give her that she's not just on morphine all her life, because to her life is pain, but she still has put a smile on her face. And that really encouraged me that no matter the pain that you're going through, there's somebody else out there that theirs is more than you. And that has always been a way of me coping all my life. It's like I don't look at myself in a self-pity, like pitying myself, doing all of those things. I always look around and say, well, there's somebody else that's got it more than I have. So I just need to be grateful. Look at the good things that I can be grateful for, not lingering on the things of the past which I can't change. But Father, I think it's so comforting that if we can absolutely get to a stage that we trust in you, that you know the present, you know the future, in a way, that should be able to give us peace of mind. But I struggle with it sometimes, but I would say I've been better since we've been having this conversation with saints, and especially since we started the God conversation, that a lot of things that I worry for before, I don't really worry about them anymore, because I'm learning to know that God is in control of everything. And the reality of worry is that it doesn't move anything, doesn't change it. The problem is still there, but you are worrying on top of the problem. So I'm trying to take that step back and just hand it over to God and just say, God, you know the future. You know the future of how I am going to be able to bring up 3 girls by myself. Those are the kind of things that I worry about, like, oh, single mother, am I going to make sure that I give them what me and Ben has promised that we are going to give them in life? I hope I can still do. These are all the things I worry about, but I always think at the same time as well that God that has brought me this far is going to continually strengthen me. So thank you, Father, for that. And this really, really helps me again. It just reminds me that if you know that God is in your future, it will not necessarily look daunting for you anymore, and you just always look at the bright side. Because I know that for sure, like my past is determining my present now. When I look at the past, all these years that Jesus has always spoke to me, I never knew that there was going to be something like this happening. It's not something that I've ever even imagined, because I've never seen something like that where you are interviewing saints or speaking to the Father in heaven. But I guess the past prepared me for this, like being able to understand that, yes, Jesus can speak through his children. He's spoken to me through Ben all these years. That has really helped me to be able to accept this current present. And also knowing that God would not bring all of this in my life. It wouldn't bring Matthew to me if there was not a purpose for it. But even though the way it has all played out wasn't the way I ever imagined that this is how everything is going to play out. But I always look back and remember what Jesus has told me and look at the present now, and I can see how they all link together. And I know that the present that I am living now, that Matthew is living now, is going to determine the future. And you said something very interesting, Father, that you know how many books me and Matthew are going to write, or the books I'm going to write with other people. Those things is something that we don't have access to. We don't know. But because heaven has got this understanding, works in a miraculous way, things happen there in ways that I cannot even explain. When you were talking about time, it can be slower or faster. I'm like, this is just getting confusing. So it's better I should even think about it. But that's what heaven is all about. In heaven, you've got the opportunity to be able to see the future, and you see our future. So, Father, having this understanding that you know the present, sorry, you know the past, the present, and the future, how can that help us to be reassured that even whether we face ups and downs, even whether in sickness or in health, we should always be reassured that God is in our future and God will always take us to his own expected end, not necessarily what we expect, but what you have planned for us. How can we continue to be encouraged in that future? Because sometimes for me the future is daunting. Like I look at my age, I look at how many years I still got, and sometimes it's so daunting for me to think about the future. So how can we be more hopeful in you?
Uh, I guess it all comes down to how you see me as a character. Everything stems from who I am and who Jesus is as a person. I won't contradict my character. I'm loving, caring, considerate, kind, purposeful. Disease can come and suffering can come, and that's understood by my character, and through understanding that I only want the best for you, and that I allow certain tragedy and certain trials to happen. You can rest and be assured that I care for you no matter what happens. And the one constant that you can have is your relationship with me. You can imagine that young girl abducted at 5 and being used uh, and sex trafficked until age 16. You can imagine uh, her relationship with me being corroded and eroded away over all those years. She could have completely given up in my goodness and in my provision and my love. And many people suffer and go through trials, and the trials and the suffering don't line up to what they believe as my character, and they fall away or become indignant or bitter towards me. But I'm constant, and I'm not changing. I go from everlasting to everlasting, and but I do suffer. I do have a tremendous suffering watching people. People are not just people to me. Like, I sit with Matthew face to face, and my eyes fill up with tears. And he asked me why I'm crying, and I said, the English language just can't convey the word love. I love you so much that it makes me cry. And Matthew saw that, and the message really rang home that I really loved him. Well, when I love him so much, when he suffers, when he goes through hardship, even when his hand was bleeding last night, um, it affects me. People assume that I don't love. I don't love completely. People assume that when a person is suffering on earth, it doesn't make me suffer. And sadly, people think that I'm less than a parent. Matthew remembers being in a psychotic state, and he was in hospital, and he was possessed by demons, and he was in a really bad place. And when his father came into the room, he'd seen visions of his father dying, and he thought his father was dead, and he cussed at his father and was really mean to his father. And his father and mother went down to the basement of the hospital to the car park, and his mother was crying uncontrollably, and his father was trying to console her, and his mother said, "We've lost him." Like, she thought Matthew had reached a stage that wasn't going to come back, and um, his father said, "Don't say that." And she said, "We've lost him," and his father reassured her, said, "Don't say that. The doctors will get him back." And it was night and day when they came back a couple of weeks later and the medication had helped Matthew and he was in his right mind again. And I was so happy. Well, Matthew understands that he suffered his psychotic break, and he suffered with his mind going crazy, but his parents suffered more. His parents really suffered because they loved him and they'd lost their son. And people assume that earthly parents suffer, but I don't suffer. People are sort of detached from thinking that I care, and I, I. It's not as though Matthew masturbating to pornography really affects me, because my son, death on the cross, covers that. But it affects me that Matthew's so broken that he'll do that. It hurts me that my son can do better than this. He is better than this, and it's like it's like a father watching his son run in a race, and his son coming second in a long distance race, and he's not able to wear down the winner of the race. And it's like the father watching the son, and the son just gives up and runs himself out of the race and comes like 15th, because his son gave up, that he couldn't wear down the winner. The father watching is really broken-hearted, not so much that the son came 15th, but because the son gave up, because his spirit was broken. And I, as a God, watch people suffer, and I see their spirit get broken. I see them give up. There's pedophiles in United States, places of power, and they can order from I've said this before, but they can order a young child. They get a photo album of young children, and they pick a child, and the people go off and abduct that child from the streets. And 3 days later, the little young girl from the picture is fearfully in front of the pedophile, and the pedophile begins to teach the little girl how sex with him is love, and he starts to abuse her. And uh, so many of these pedophiles get off on fear in the young girl's eyes, or fear in the young boy's eyes. And when they stop seeing the fear, when the child's spirit has been broken and the child has just given itself over to being raped, the pedophile gets rid of him, because he wants someone who fears him, and it's no fun anymore. So I watch people break. I see people come under pressure, and their spirit is resilient up until a point, and then they just break. And I want to reassure you, even though you stop watching it, that those people that run from me and leave religion, it's just because their spirit has been broken. They just they've just had enough, and they can't handle it anymore. And so don't you know that I'll chase them up, and I'll surprise them when they die. They'll come to heaven. They may be so far from me, but I remember their pledge. It's like two children cutting themselves and becoming blood brothers. They're, the young children in the young children's innocence become blood brothers. Um, and that's a bond that goes on for years. The children grow up into adults, and they're still blood brothers. Well, when someone gives their life to me, they become a blood brother with me, and nothing can erase that. They can become a witch. They can become part of the Illuminati. They can become an elite abuser, but they're still my son, and so I'm like a father watching his son with his spirit being broken in a race, and that father would have trouble getting that son to be on track again and competing in competitions. The son it just probably given up on racing, and there's so many people that I have to watch on in the world whose spirits are broken, and I've got to bring a certain person or a certain situation about in their future to restore them, to restore that brokenness, to heal them. And sadly, on earth, and I'll admit this as God, sadly, the earth is lacking proper trained healers. The whole world is suffering. There's millions of people suffering that an experienced counsellor could fix, but the world lacks experienced counsellors, and I'm just looking down at earth with a whole lot of broken people and a whole lot of people whose spirit is broken. I want to return to that 16-year-old. One day she may get free, and she may find love and find a husband and get interviewed on a podcast about perseverance and becoming something beautiful after being trashed and used and abused. And her testimony, she could become a healer and a counselor and work with trafficked women and help trafficked women reacclimatize to life and help rescue trafficked women. She'd be a real asset, and she'd be more of an asset to me than someone who's just studied a psychology degree and come out of school and learned to counsel. If she come from that lifestyle herself, she'd have so much empathy and so much understanding, and the girls would say things that they've been through, and she'd be able to relate to that and confess that she'd been through the same thing. So in some ways, I use girls like that, and just like Matthew has gone through his life of addiction, one day he'll be really helpful to people. He's already helpful to people now, but one day that girl may be a real answer and affect hundreds or thousands of women. And did she need to go through that in order to become that light? Did she need to suffer that? And you can ask that question like, would I, as a God, allow her to get abducted and go through 15 years of slavery and trial to make her into a light that can affect hundreds of lives? And these are sort of big questions, and they're sort of questions that I'll leave the reader to ponder. Do I actually allow someone like Joyce Meyer to be raped 300 times by a father by age 18, and she moves out of her father's house to stop getting raped? Do I allow such things so she becomes such a mighty force and affects tens of thousands of lives with a story? Do I allow things like that so that a person can be a force to be reckoned with and do a lot of great work? And if I do allow things like that, and if it is part of my plan, how does that relate to time? How does that, when she's being raped as a 12-year-old, do I see her as the 12-year-old in that moment, in the current day, or do I see her at 36 on the stages preaching messages and setting people free? I look at her as the 12-year-old and I try and bring a song on the radio to comfort her, but I see her as a 40-year-old woman setting people free. And you, you, you may not understand, people largely don't understand, but how how do how do I cope with my grief watching a young 16-year-old being led down into a nightclub of men and all the men waiting to pick a girl, and she's young and she's pretty and she's got nice breasts and she's got a great figure and she's in a beautiful dress, and the young the men in the room salivate and they sort of bid for who can take her away and have their way with her. And it's like the 5,000th man that she slept with. It's nothing new for her. It's just another man to paw her and abuse her. And how do I think for yourself? How do I cope watching that? How am I supposed to cope? And it's just like Matthew's mother in the car park saying, "Is he ever going to come back from this?" I'm in that position saying, "Is she ever going to recover from this?" And I'm watching her as a 16-year-old, watching her and suffering. People don't understand, and perhaps uh, you've caught me on a different sort of emotional day, but people don't understand that I suffer like the father watching his son in the race give up the race, and you physically see the son's spirit get broken and give up racing. Like, when does that 16-year-old give up? Like, when does she just stop smiling and stop trying? And I'm a God who's down in the car like Matthew's mother, wondering whether she's ever going to make it. The God who watches a 12-year-old Joyce Meyer get raped one more time, and whether she's going to make it through it, whether she's going to make it to 18. And I'm aware of the future. I'm aware that she'll leave home at 18, and that helps me with my grief. Knowing the future helps me. I know the 16-year-old is going to be let go around 21 when she gets a bit too old for the clients. And I know her future, setting trafficked women free and counseling trafficked women. And it's a good future, and she helps hundreds of girls, and she she couldn't have done it without being trafficked. And how do I reconcile that? How do I allow her to be abducted and allow her to be abused for all those years? What sort of God am I? Am I sort of a ruthless, unmerciful, unloving, uncompassionate God? Or am I compassionate? Can I stay true to my character and allow things like that? And these are all questions, and these are things that you may have to ponder. And as you read this or listen to this video, it may bring up questions. But I want you to ask yourself, is it a person's future that gets me through their struggles and the trials in the present? It is the testimony of Matthew when maybe one day he's free of his addictions. Is that testimony going to be worth it, or is his testimony as he endures and goes through this in the current day? Is his testimony right now as powerful, just as powerful? Can I use him more powerfully if he ever finds a counselor that can address his pain, or can I continue to use him as a mighty man of God, even with his pain? Can I use him to beat a 16-year-old girl, talking to the other traffic girls and encouraging the other traffic girls and telling jokes to the girls and keeping them happy? Is the 16-year-old girl not with a spirit broken, but a friend and a colleague to the other girls? Is she the life of the party and one that hugs the girls when they're broken? Can I use people in the journey? Do they have to be finished the journey for me to use them, or can I use them on the way to victory, on the way to healing? These are all questions, and they're all found in time. And people have a past, they have a present, and they have a future. And we all have a future together in heaven. And things aren't as dark as people may see they are in their current present.
Thank you, Father. And I guess it's the hope of heaven that keeps majority of your children going, knowing that the present is not going to be there forever and ever, that there's a time where they will be in their future. When I was transcribing the book of, I think, Sarah yesterday, and I was telling myself, all of these men of valor, men of God, they've all walked through this journey that we are walking through, and God has seen them through. God has seen so many people through generations, and that should be an encouragement for we that are coming behind as well, that His grace and His mercy is enough for us to finish the race in the way that will glorify you, not in the way that glorifies self, but glorifies you. Father, I think you broke me there where you said that their spirit is just broken. And I'm just thinking that how many people do I come across every day in life that their spirits are broken? And that's why it's very difficult to see someone and just judge them by their outward behavior, because you don't know what they've experienced in life. You don't know the pain they're going through, because they need to trust you to be able to share that with you. And the only thing that you see is the way they behave. You know, when you said all of these people that walked away from you, you're going to bring them home, it made me so emotional that how loving you are, God. They thought they've walked away from you, but you never forgot how many years that they've toiled in your house and given everything they have. Team Sledge has served you for 50 years, Father, and he's done everything. He's focused on the right thing, which is reaching to the unreached in the society. And today he's walked away. But you telling me that all of these people, I am going to bring them back. That just shows me another side of you, God, that I've never seen. And this is a God that is so loving that you're trying every way just to bring your children to you, because it's not about being born again or not being born again. It's about the heart of this person, and you understand their journey. You understand their present, their past, their present, and their future. And Father, you said something. You said you suffer the most. And I think understanding that you suffer the most is helping me to cope better with my own pain. Because a lot of times we've forgotten that you see this, we've forgotten that you're experiencing this with us. Because the emphasis has always been on God is just sitting in heaven there, doing whatever He feels like. He doesn't care about me. If God cares about me, why would I be experiencing this pain? Why would my father be molesting me if God really, really cares about me? That's what is going on in people's head, because they can't even see you, Fab. But you are reeling in pain. You are looking down at your children, and you are in such a pain that the only thing that keeps you going is the future, because you have seen the future. And that really helps me even moving forward now to be able to bear any pain or any challenge I face in a better way than knowing that I'm not in this pain by myself. God is traveling with me, and He knows my future, and He knows how He's going to see me through this pain. And I shouldn't be pulled down by whatever I'm experiencing now. And that has really been a blessing to me today, Father, just to know that we're not in this journey by ourselves, that you are holding us and you are sharing us up in the journey, and just looking unto you, the author and the finisher of our faith. Thank you, Father.
Okay, so if you enjoyed what I had to say today, I really encourage you to read it again and ponder on those deeper questions. Are you the one who suffers, or am I the one who suffers? We use that illustration about the father being upset and affected by his child uh, losing the race and having his spirit broken. How would that affect the father who'd spent years training his son? How Matthew's mother was in the car crying, saying, "We've lost him," and how she was feeling, and how do I feel as a God? Do I feel less than human beings, or am I more sensitive and more aware of pain? And do I actually suffer more than humans? I don't think, I really don't think, and I know things because I'm God. I really don't think humans understand me and really understand the depth of my love and the depth of my understanding and the depth of my suffering. Every single person who suffers on earth, I suffer because of them. So many atheists will ask, if it's a God of love, why does he allow all the suffering? And the answer to that is I gave people free will, but the atheists aren't happy with that answer. Uh, but people neglect to realize, and many of the atheists don't realize that uh, I'm the first person that would like to stop suffering. I'm the one who suffers the most, and if I could turn it off and shut down free will and make some robots, if that was a better way, I'd do that. So I want you to spend some time pondering what I have to say there. Is that 16-year-old um, going to be an asset? And I was not speaking about a 16-year-old. I'm speaking about a woman who's 36, and I'm speaking about a real woman who works rescuing traffic girls and mentoring and coaching and speaking, who's written books and who's speaking at conferences and works one-on-one with trafficked women, who's a real hero, and she's got a really big name. And I was speaking about her as a 16-year-old, but that was her in the past. And in the present, she's a really powerful woman that's well known. I didn't mention her name, but she's well known in those sort of circles. So would I allow something like that to happen? Would I allow that brokenness to go on for 16 years, from 5 to 21? Would I allow a girl to suffer for 16 years to affect thousands of other girls? Would I allow Joyce Meyer to be raped 300 times and escape her father's house at 18, so she would go on and affect thousands of women and men and women? Would I allow just a normal sexual abuse victim to grow up and become a sensitive woman to her children, and to make sure she had a husband that never sexually abused her children. Do I allow? Here's a question for you: Do I allow suffering?
Mm.
Do I allow it, and do I condone it? And have I got a purpose for it? These are eternal questions that you can ask yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I really waxed lyrical in this session, and let my emotions flow. If you watched this right until this point, I encourage you to like the message. If this affected you in any way and you're a member of YouTube, I encourage you to make a comment. And if this is the first video you've seen of Matthew's, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Be aware that this is just one video out of over 60 videos on a playlist called God's Last Days Message to His Children. I encourage you to get the first 3 books of this series, and God bless you and keep you, and may you be encouraged by reflecting on this message. Amen.